What's up? What's up? It's your boy Ian Vaughn. Welcome to another episode of the Can We Talk R&B podcast. I'm your R&B ambassador, and my whole objective is to find, well, look, not just find, but because I know who these people are. The question is, can we get in touch with these folks to have the conversations? I found and got in contact with one of my favorites. I mean, and I would venture to say he's probably one of the most unsung legends that we don't really talk enough. At least I don't hear enough about his contributions to the overall, zeitgeist of R&B music. You know what I'm saying? This guy's been putting pressure. Just applying pressure in a serious way for the past 20 years or more. So we're gonna get into that. But we got my brother Raheem DeVaughn in the building. What's good, bro?
Yeah, how you doing? How you doing, man? Thanks for
I'm
having me.
good. I'm good, man. Thank you for making the time. I want to jump into it, man. I was having a conversation with a couple of friends actually saying that, I'm going to have Raheem DeVaughn on the show. And every one of them said just what I just said. Man, he's like one of the unsung legends. Have you heard that or do you feel that?
Yeah, I've heard Underground King. I've heard all the different monikers over the decades. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I take it as a grain of salt. I take it as a, compliment. I definitely feel like I definitely have contributed a lot to the culture.
absolutely.
Behind the scenes as well as on and off stage, and I'm thankful to just have my name in the conversation. You know what I mean?
Nah,
Yeah,
for
at the end of
sure.
the day, yeah.
For sure. Look, when I just like the last few days really preparing for this episode and a few other episodes, and I'm playing your music, and I'm like, man, I've been listening to these records, like a lot of them, you know what I'm saying,
Yeah,
for
yeah,
a very long time,
yeah.
and have been inspired by your music, just as a culture pusher yourself. And me being a musician, I'm like, I remember being first introduced to your music. This had to be, I want to say maybe 2004
Okay.
or five, somewhere in there. And
Absolutely.
and I just remember I'm like, man, and you've been consistent since then. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
taking the term underground king, I think it's an absolute compliment. But at the same time, I do think you deserve more recognition and
Hmm.
more visibility. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Why do
yeah,
you think that is in terms of that you haven't gotten that, I guess that maybe mainstream
yeah,
acknowledgement?
yeah. I think I would think I would say probably, that it kind of just started being on a major recording label at the time that just wouldn't um you have certain artists that they do marketing budgets for, and and then you have some that and then you have other artists they don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But bigger than that, just like figuring out, like knowing how to market an artist such as myself. The work ethic, just all the things. You know what I mean? I think for coming in the door, um, Jive Records was attracted to my talent. I think that spoke volumes and spoke for itself. But just kind of figuring out what to do with me as an artist, and with any artist, a lot of times it's a challenge for like major recording companies. You know what I mean?
absolutely.
I've been independent since 2010. You know what I mean? It's been an incredible ride. Having 5 Grammy nominations under my belt. Shout out to Jay Ivy, who won a Grammy. Being associated with one of his previous albums year before last, and yeah, it's been great, man. Like
Yeah,
I really don't. At the end of the day, I don't get caught up in the accolades or the titles. You know what I mean? Like, my thing is to stay consistency. And I believe that my entire career. When you look back on that artist's career, I don't feel like artists are truly defined until they get into where they are. You know, in their career where I am right now, for example. So I'm still on the incline. People are still discovering. People are still having the conversations. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like, if the entire world knew my name, or any artists, would be no need for us to do, like interviews and expose people to the music and the
yeah, yeah.
shows and the whole nine. So, yeah, man, I really don't really get caught up in it. It really doesn't bother me that much. You know what I mean? Because I know what I'm working on in real time, and just to, I've had a lot of major success. And
Absolutely.
been had a seat at a lot of different tables, and my music has taken me a lot of different places.
No, for sure. All over the world for sure. So you've been coined the Love King. Talk about where that name comes from, what that means to you, and what that means to your audience.
Yeah, that was a moniker that was kind of, we came up with. Man, it's probably been since like 2000, 14, 15. You know, originally started because of the fact that I started my foundation, the Love Life Foundation. Of course, all the albums are, the word love has been intertwined, and from Love Sick to the Love Experience, Love Behind the Melody, the Love War Masterpiece.
Yeah,
Most recently, Winter in Love, Summer in Love, the Fall in Love series that I've done. I kind of think of it as like my version of the Tribe Called Quest. You know what I'm saying? Like covers and how they would keep implementing the logos and the artwork and the Midnight Marauder, that vibe. So
yeah,
and then of course, like love is one of the highest frequencies, next to authenticity. So uh it's it's always been kind of like my thing that 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 I push, you know what I mean? And it's connecting with the fans, love for the community, of course having songs that speak to intimacy and all of these things. As of late it's like the Love King of Soul and R&B, you know what I mean? Just to kind of like broaden it a little.
yeah,
Um
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So that's where, that's pretty much the vibe of that. It started out as the R&B hippie neo soul rock star. I feel like
Mhm.
you have to constantly like reinvent yourself,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's important to me. Some obviously the foundational cornerstones of R&B music in general is love, right? So it's one thing to just make music like a lot of this newer generation of new artists. I don't think I'm not gonna say all of them, but I don't think the the core of it is love, or at least it's not communicated the same way.
Mhm.
I think the core of it is maybe definitely it's sex, it may be intimacy, but it doesn't tell a story. It doesn't romance the thing. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't warm it up
Mhm.
first. It just goes straight to it. So I think
Yeah.
your music and your catalog is more of a lifestyle of or at least your message rather how I interpret it is more of a lifestyle of love, which overall is the soundtrack for R&B music for my life and to me.
Yeah. Well, when I'm creating music, I look at it as as a feast, or like, think of it as I think of when I'm working on bodies of work as well, I think of it as like a 7 course meal.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Of like completion for, from the appetizers to, the wine is served,
that's right.
the main course, you know what I
That's
mean, the
right. Yeah,
dessert, you know what I
yeah,
mean,
yeah. Set it up. Set
the
it
the,
up.
the, the tea or the coffee, whatever,
Yeah,
whatever the
yeah,
vibe is. But yeah, it's just, I provide a very unique and possess a very unique skill set. You know what I mean? So, and that's why that's what's been able to, have me cut through, um, continuously and to keep me consistent. Over the
absolutely.
years and decades.
Absolutely. And look, your catalog spans, 2 decades. And I'm looking back, which project do you think is the one that set you apart, that kind of made you feel like, okay, I'm on the way right now?
Uh, Obviously, the first album, The Love Experience, which is critically acclaimed first album. We just celebrated the 20th anniversary of The Love Experience, which came out in 2005.
Hmm.
I would say probably another one of my personal favorites was the Love and War Masterpiece, which in both of those albums, they were half socially conscious, have love, have entertainment, you know what I mean? Like, when I look back at those projects, I think they're the perfect balance of edutainment,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's something that, so I also pride myself in, you think about records on the Love and War Masterpiece like Revelations 2010 with Damian Marley that uh, speaks to the signs of the times that we living in right now and that we've lived in previously, in my generation and in our parents and um forefathers and whatnot. So it's been a journey, like those two albums in particular. And all my bodies of work, I find a way, I think, to to balance it out, whether it's connecting the dots through, you know, spoken word or interludes, you know, it's so much to talk about, you know, in and outside of the bedroom. You know, it's just kind of like the balance of it. And I think, you know, having influences of like Bob Marley growing up, you know, listen to his music, his catalog, you know, Marvin
Yep.
Gaye, Curtis Mayfield. Like I've
Yep.
really been, you know, that really put me in my bag and really put the battery in my back, you know, as an R&B singer and as a soul singer, you know, crooner that I could also make, you know, records that speak to the social climate of where we are, you know,
Yeah, man.
here in the country or, you know, just the planet.
No, absolutely, man. You're definitely a crooner, and I mean, and one of the you know what, one of the kings of falsetto too. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Like,
thanks. Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? You
Yeah.
always tap into that, and that's a vocal flex. Like, you know, as a vocalist, you know, I like to play around up there, but I'm coming back. You know what I'm saying? But you
Yeah. Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of your signature. That's a lot of your signature sound that we appreciate. Your blend, like your music blends, you know, sensuality and substance. Um, how intentional are you about, you know, balancing love and passion in the overall message?
I'm very intentional, even more so, you know, sonically in you know in the field and you know the track listing like all of those things is my hopes that whenever you play a project of mine, you know, from beginning to end, it's a vibe. You know, it's the art of storytelling to feel like you could close your eyes and it take you somewhere. You could literally, you know, strip the sound from one of your favorite, you know, black films, Love Jones or what have you, and just like
Yeah,
insert it and it tells it tells a story, a timeline of love, you know,
yeah,
um, of um, of adversity, of all the things that we encounter, you know, in this precious life that we have, you know. You know, I've always straddled the line of you know neo soul and R&B and finding a way to kind of like mesh those and
mhm,
as well as some of the other genres of music that which I'm very fond of, you know, rock and blues and soul uh
yeah,
and jazz, you know, I think I definitely take a jazz approach in terms of like the ad libs and the timing, you know,
yeah.
and the
Some of your
improv,
some of your harmony chords. You know what I mean?
yeah, and the improvisational things that just happen organically, you know, being in the studio, allowing myself to be free, you know, not confined to necessarily like a pen or a pad. You know, my process is different maybe than most where I don't write, you know, haven't written things down primarily ever, you know, maybe like early in my career, we talking 25, 30, 35 years ago, you know, as an aspiring songwriter. But you know, it's pretty much my entire career as a major recording artist, you know, having like sat down and physically like write the lyrics
Really?
down.
Hold on, hold on, hold
They
on.
come through me.
So, so you're telling me all these songs, you're not like pinning them down. You just kind of you're freestyling them essentially, or you just at the mic.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know,
Wow,
back during COVID, I started to kind of like really show the process and like really be comfortable with like showing the process. So, you know, on any given night, you might catch me on the IG or Facebook Live. You know, we have all these different platforms. TikTok is definitely one of my favorite platforms to utilize as well, like when I'm live, you know, and that type of thing. So,
wow.
yeah, but that's been the process for some time.
That's phenomenal. You about to make me go grab my guitar, man, and we get about to freestyle and create something right
Ah,
now.
there it is. There it is.
No, so if you well, I would say this. You know, you've inspired a number of this new generation. You've inspired a number of artists, and I can hear your influence on certain artists
Hmm.
of you know over the past 10 years or so.
Hmm.
Are there any specific artists that you're listening to or that you're enjoying of the
I would be
modern time?
curious. I'll be curious to hear your list.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, I can hear some of your influence in artists like Lucky Day. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I can hear
Hmm.
some of your influence in you know, what's my man name? Is it I don't want to mess his name up. Is it ah on the spot? I'm picturing it, I'm hearing the song. Specifically Lucky Day. Lucky's one of my favorite artists of this
Hmm.
of the I would say of the new regime.
Hmm.
He's from New Orleans. I'm
Hmm.
from Baton Rouge. I mean, I live in New
Yeah.
Orleans, so you
Yeah.
know, I listen to guys like that, and it's guys who tap into the soul
Hmm.
and that, I don't think you guys sound alike, but I can hear those influences. Even
Oh yeah,
someone like,
absolutely.
even someone like a Luke James,
Hmm. Hmm.
even Ro James, I can
Yeah,
hear those inspirations in there.
yeah, yeah. Definitely, definitely. Some of which are the homies. You know, shout out to Luke, shout out to Ro. You know what I mean? And I think it's like, it's I I hear it, and even with them, like I hear, being in radio now too, being in media, I listen to I get to ingest a lot of music, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I hear that. I hear our influences, whether it's Prince, Roger Nelson, or Marvin Gaye.
Yep.
Um yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm listening to a lot of the new stuff. October London, Camper, who's a
Oh yeah.
phenomenal like
Absolutely.
songwriter, and
Mhm.
as well as a producer and vocalist. Um, it's a lot
Yeah,
of dope.
I love what he recently did with Tone Stith.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was, yeah,
Amazing.
yeah, yeah. That was, I had I had the opportunity to break that record in DC.
Nice.
In a Quiet Storm. So the new
Nice.
JLB, being the voice and radio personality of 96.3 WHUR back in DC. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, so yeah, it's been great to like hear the new music, and I hear my influences and different things out there, but I also hear our influences. I think nothing is new under the sun.
That's right. That's right. So if you could collaborate with someone that you haven't collabed with, like someone
Hmm.
off the top of your head, you're like, man, somebody I want to collab with.
Hmm.
Uh, I generally ask a question like that, and people are like, dead or alive? I'm like alive, like right now, because I
Yeah,
want to make it
yeah.
happen.
Oh man, I probably would say Jasmine Sullivan.
Mm,
Uh, Definitely. Yeah, Jasmine. I say
yeah.
um Ari. I say Sade.
Come on.
Um, Patti LaBelle,
Oh,
and
crazy.
and and Lauren Hill. Those would probably be my. That's like like a current, like,
Wish list.
yeah, right, yeah, current wish list.
Yeah, all of them are pressure. I mean, Jasmine, we just talked about Lucky being one of my favorites of this new era.
Hmm.
Jasmine is 100% one of my favorites. Definitely, I mean, a female artist. She is probably my favorite female artist of the past,
Yeah,
I would say 15, 20 years. She's so amazing.
yeah.
Body's
As
work is
far
crazy.
yeah, as far as male artists, I probably would say like um um Stevie Wonder.
Come on.
Um,
Got to, man.
yeah, Stevie Wonder, Lenny Kravitz,
Yeah.
um, Bilal,
Come on.
um, and that's like just like not just on just like the vocalist, like songwriting, but that's like producer Bilal. You know what I mean? Like the whole,
Mhm.
um, um, I'd say probably D'Angelo,
Come on, man.
and and man, and I'll go and I'd probably go with mm, yeah, I guess I would Pharrell, who's he's
Yes.
Pharrell's of many things, so
Yeah,
you can count him
yeah.
as a vocalist, as an MC.
It's all yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
all the
I
things.
I take all the things, all of the above. You know what I mean? Like
Absolutely.
definitely Neptune's Pharrell.
Yeah, and shout out to Pharrell's, his latest contribution with the clips. I know that's hip hop, but that album,
Absolutely,
is- that album is crazy, and the
it's killer.
production
Yeah,
is,
killer,
yeah,
killer,
the
killer,
production
killer.
is bonkers.
Yeah.
So you've always, you touched on this a bit, but you've always, tied your artistry with philanthropy, with activism. Um, what is the core source of that? Like, where do you get that desire to spread that message from, or to be that light in that way?
Yeah, yeah, community is important. There's a lot that we tackling on a day to day and have been for some time. It's kind of funny how history seems to repeat itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm a
that's right.
firm believer that you do the same thing, you get the same results.
Yep.
You know, and I made a conscious decision early in my career to be about community. I've always been connected to community, and doing different things, out of the DC area.
Right.
Long before I started my foundation, which is the Love Life Foundation. We founded in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
Some of our major initiatives have been, HIV awareness, which is uh, in current time, I have a partnership with Gilead Sciences as it relates to, HIV and awareness and conversations about PrEP and alternative, medications that are out here, HIV preventable medications, um, and, fighting domestic violence as well, mental health, which has been something that's been very, been adamant about talking about as well.
What made you pick
Campaigning.
those fights?
I mean, well, when I started, the foundation and the fight, to bring awareness and to have the conversation about domestic violence in particular, like, Prince George's County, which is out of the DMV area, had the
Yeah.
largest, it had the most phone calls, domestic violence phone calls in the country at the time, you know.
Okay.
Uh, and so that being in my backyard and just different incidents that and different events that I had been involved in, growing up, I remember hearing the story of, a woman being set on fire or,
Wow.
having, acid thrown on her and that type of thing. Those things, some of those things happen right in my region, you know.
Wow.
And I'll say time and time again, I never get tired of saying that, like, you don't have to be Raheem DeVaughn to care about people, care about community, but
That's right.
it's all I do believe in, like, leading, leading by example as well. So, uh, you know, again, that's how I got started. That and of course, um, we've been moving and rocking ever since.
Yeah. I love that. I think that's OG talk. You know what I'm saying? And that's like when you think about the artists that we grew up loving, like you mentioned Stevie Wonder, you mentioned Marvin Gaye, the Al Greens of the world. We
Hmm.
all those artists had, and obviously it was a testament to the time from the '70s and so forth.
Hmm.
And they
Hmm.
taught our generation in the '80s and the '90s talking about consciousness, just being aware of your surroundings, and we're kind of telling the story of our
Hmm.
community. And
Hmm.
I think you hold that mantle well. I can't really think of many artists, maybe like a John Legend or people like that, but I can't think of many artists that stands out in front to represent causes like that. And I think
Hmm.
that's important to have examples like that for the future generations.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Hmm. So switching gears, um, you've watched R&B evolve through multiple eras. What do you think is the current state of R&B in 2025?
I think R&B is in a great place. When you look at, like, digital platforms like Spotify, Apple Music,
Yeah,
aside from the conversations about what we get paid, as artists, there's all these wonderful platforms that, artists can use to cut through and expose them, their music to the world, on a daily. So it's, sometimes, we could get lost in the you know I think we definitely in the it's always a conversation we had about quality versus quantity.
yep,
You know what I mean? Because there's so many artists, and it's
right,
so easy to be an artist, and you can literally record something on your phone and, like, upload it from your phone in a matter of, like, like
right,
hours, and create the artwork and just all the things, and be off to the races, right?
right,
Uh, so there's definitely a conversation we had about, the quality versus quantity, but there's a lot of great music out there that, music artists are discovered. You can just we're in an era where you can discover great R&B and soul music daily, like, literally, like, what I mean. It's just like, what's your process for, like, going down a rabbit hole, you
right,
know? So to say that, for I think one side of it for me, I think it's very shallow to say that, like, R&B is dead or the culture is dead, or just like, nah. It's like, where you listening to your music? Like, who are you listening to? Like,
right,
are you on the hamster wheel? Or are you really going down a rabbit hole and, like, seeing, like, what's out there? Because it's definitely, like, a lot of great artists out there. You have artists out there who have followings who are not on, mainstream terrestrial radio. Like, their whole everything existence is through the
through
communication
streaming.
of, like, yeah, the streaming and technology, and what have you.
Yeah. I listen to that and I think about, so obviously since I started this show a couple years ago, I was always one that I'm always, discovering new artists just as a musician, as an artist myself, always digging around trying to find. But now, bro, uh, I might get 100 artists a week
Yeah,
of album song. I try my best to filter through as much as possible.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah,
be- because I'm a truist, right? I say truist, meaning I'm true to this. If I don't really like it, I'm probably not going to want to have a conversation
yeah,
yet. You know what I'm saying? I'm
yeah,
like, unless it's something specific. But I need to like the music. I need to be able to sit with it. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? So I can understand it, because that's what R&B is to me. It's not instantaneous music like hip hop sometimes can be. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like R&B is like, it's like a slow roast. Like, again, I'm
yeah,
I'm in New
yeah,
Orleans.
yeah,
Like when you
yeah.
when you got some gumbo on the pot, man, it takes some time. You got to get the sausage right. You got to get the chicken right. You got to get, you know what I'm saying, each individual
Absolutely. You gotta
ingredient right.
see seasoning it the night before. It's the whole
That's
process.
right.
And like again,
Yeah.
that's why I kind of like, compare it to cooking, or you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's that's what we do. We cooking.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Uh, do you think R&B is getting the recognition that it deserves?
Absolutely. In fact, it's a resurgence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when I'm out at these shows and I'm doing, 2 shows a night. Some instances, and it's 3 different generations there. It's the grandmother, the mother, and the daughter. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So I have a it's a cult following. You know what I mean? You know that just champions everything that I do, and
Yeah.
but also creating a new fan base. One of the things I ask nightly is city after city, if it's your first time seeing me live, like making some noise, like just get into the show. It's great because it's never crickets when I ask that question. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
either
Yeah.
it's either 50, 60%, anywhere from 30 to 60%. And in some cases 70, 75 of like fans who are coming out for the first time. They either they just discovered it, they saw it, they saw a clip online, or they've been a long term fan and just really never got an opportunity to come out and see a show. I understand that, in this economy and where we are, that like, and how competitive that is as well, so the live performance piece is a major component for me too. It's a major part of it.
Yeah.
Because the average fan, they may not have the disposable income to
Mhm.
they may or may not have the disposable income, but you know for me, it's about providing a service and a frequency that I can do it the way I do it, and in hopes that they come back. I
Yeah.
will say that if I think when it comes to the live performance piece, you know the first impression rule applies. But when it comes to the creativity and the artistry, music is one of those one things. Um, but not the only thing where you have 9 lives. You know what I'm saying? The music business, as a
Mhm.
as an artist, as a producer, as an MC, as a poet, um, you know, even as an author, like you can continuously throw things to the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if it don't
Yeah.
stick, you can try again. You know what I mean? And I think that's where the idea of like or the phrasing, use great as the last hit, great as your last performance. That's I think that's where that lies, and it comes from. So I just try to like internalize that, you know while not putting pressure on myself. I never feel pressure. I never feel the pressure of like, oh man, I gotta make a radio record, or I gotta, um, feeling the pressure to make a body of work, because I'm constantly, I'm always working,
Yeah.
in real time. I'll go to the studio just to see what'll come out. You know what I mean? And just having a catalog, when it's time, or I want to push the button on something, I have a variety of things to pick from: flavors, tempos, BPMs,
Yeah.
things that are a little more on the program side, things that are more on, on the live, musical side. Uh, so it's about creating, the options that you create for yourself create limitless opportunities.
Absolutely. So speaking of performing and all that, what's your favorite song to perform?
Oh man, that's tricky, man. It's a lot of them, bro. Like right now, I think I've been on the fence about changing the show. Um, you know, I frequent a lot of different cities. Some of these cities I'm going to two, three, four times a year, five
Yeah,
times a year or more. So I like to keep it interesting. Uh, but I'm like torn. I'm like torn between like changing the show and keeping the show where it is right now and finding ways to fine tune it.
yeah.
Uh, because I feel like I have the perfect set right now. The flow of it, the engagement, the journey that I'm able to take the fans on.
What's the
Currently
opening?
is.
What's the opening record? Like when they come out, boom, what's the
Man,
opening
so
joint?
so 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 that so the opening record right now is When a Man, which is off of the Love Sick album that I did with Apollo Brown. You know what I
Okay,
mean? And I picked that one in particular, as of late, just had the epiphany one day. It's a great call and response record. So whether you know it or not, you just want to get involved, and there's some really cool
yeah,
things that happen, like literally like 2-3 minutes into the show that allows, and I don't put a gun to their head, but like it kind of like gently force you don't want to be the only person in the party not participating like 2 minutes in, like sometimes it's not what it's a perfect example of like it's not what I'm saying, it's how I'm saying it, you
yeah,
know yeah, so
yeah.
that so I piece moments together. I use certain songs that just as sometimes this has a call to action, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then I use other songs, in the set list. It's about where they're placed, for a reaction, or uh, or it's just a record that's so infectious that you just know it's gonna work, So it's about everything's about timing. I study comedians, um,
Hmm.
for timing and to like enhance the show. What I mean, it's been something I've been on for the last couple of years, and it's helped me tremendously.
Do you have like in terms of your background? Do you have a church background? Like, where'd you get your chops from?
I get well, this is DNA. My father, who passed 3 years ago,
God bless you.
was a teacher of music. He was he style prodigy, cellist, really dope artist, composer, like all the things. And my his father, Big Daddy, he was a vocalist and a French horn player. You know, uh, so it's definitely, I get it, honestly, from, you know, DNA and
It's
the
passed
roots.
down.
Yeah, it's passed down, yeah.
Because the way you sing, you know what I'm saying? Like, obviously the traditional, or of course, most of like real soulful and, yeah, excessive, or I don't want to say excessive, but elite rather. That's the word I'm looking for.
hmm
Elite vocalists have a church background. You kind of got your chops in church, or, you know what I'm saying? Every so often you hear other stories like, man, I was just born with it. You know what I'm saying? And just, have it like that. The way you ad lib, the way you perform, it feels, you're pulling from that soul. So that's why I'm asking that question from
Yeah.
that
I mean,
from
I
that.
mean, obviously, it's a skill set I was born with. I think we're all born with certain gifts. You know what I mean? It's just,
Yeah.
it's how you tap into them and how you nurture them. you
Yep.
know and that's something that I've been on that journey. Started probably back as early as like 93, 94, 95. you know
Yeah.
uh my time at on campus at Coppin State, and just fall in love with music, and falling out of love with the process of going to school. I later dropped out, and just pursued music full time, and just really just became consumed by it, and it was very passionate about and adamant about what I wanted to see happen. I didn't understand then, and that was the art of manifesting like I do now. You know what I mean? But I truly like manifest like what I wanted to see happen, for myself and around me, and and willing, you know, the necessary. team members that was needed at the time and that type of thing. Uh, you know, being I was a background singer for Ginuwine at one point. That was my introduction to the industry.
Mhm.
We talking like coming off of like Pony and
Yeah,
recording differences. I was in the mix when that record was being recorded. I was in the fly on the wall, in those
ah,
jeans, you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, and differences was one of those records that like took G to a whole nother stratosphere at the
man,
time, touring with Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, and Janet Jackson,
come on,
which was an opportunity. I had, an opportunity to be part of that experience and see that and see the pandemonium and see the way, um G was one of probably the best, he's one of the best performers ever that I think get, his his
absolutely,
his accolades in terms of like the showmanship and just like
yeah,
the
yeah.
com the complete package in his prime that like, um
One thing about Genuine, man, he has had some elite singers as like doing backup or background. Man, I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
that's I honestly, I'm looking at my questions and all the things I know about you. I did not know that.
Yeah, that was shout out to my managers at the time, uh, Jerry Vines, Cliff Jones, who also, had a hand in his career at one point. And yeah, Tank as well.
Yep. Shout
So
out to Tank.
yeah, yeah. So the apple don't fall far from the tree, you know, again, Cliff and Jerry were like very instrumental in that process. Um,
Yeah,
and I was thankful for that experience, being able to just to learn and I remember getting the gig. The gig, the audition was like a show in Baltimore.
I
It
can
was like it
imagine.
was like
Okay.
like so like the conversation might have been had like on a Monday. Um, and it was I think I did an initial like pull up to like meet, just kind of fill out the energy, and it was like, hey, what do I need to learn, like which songs do I need to learn. At the time I think it was 3 albums that were out at the time, and it was like conveyed to me like learn everything.
Mm.
And I was already a fan, you know what I mean,
Yeah,
and fan of G's and that whole movement, Timberland and Missy and just everything
absolutely.
they had going on, Aaliyah. Um, so that was an easy process, and I remember going to meet them at like a venue at like a club in Baltimore, and he told me what to wear, and he was like, wear black or black jeans and the white tee, and walking into the dressing room, and he was like, "You ready?" And we went out and did the show. That was the audition.
Come on.
And after that, he was like, G, he has a great sense of humor. And he was
Yeah.
just like, he was like, man, you see, was you scared? You look like you was a little scared. He was like, but nah, you did dope, man. He was like, you was dope. You're in. And that was the beginning of of like, R&B, university 101.
Yeah, for sure. What how long did you tour with him?
Man, I want to say maybe over the course of 12 to 24 months, you know what I'm saying? I saw everything that I needed to see
Yeah,
to be able to say that, hey, like this is running its course, like, and there's something bigger and greater for me, and I want to be on the other side of this, you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
Uh, because I could also see myself, I could easily be dedicated to this. This could be a career path for me too. You know what I mean?
absolutely.
But I feel like that there was something greater for me, and there was something that was I had a greater calling. So you know, at one point I just decided, coming off of one of the tours, that I was gonna step down and fall back and
Yeah,
and 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 figure out the next phase of like what does Raheem want to do? Where do I see myself? And that landed me back in DC, and doing the open mics and stuff like that, real heavy. Jumped off the porch spot called Bar Nine, on U Street in DC, which was like the quintessential Love Jones spot. Spoken
come
word
on.
was like really popular at this time. So
Yeah,
we talking like 99, 98, 97, 99, 98, 2000,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know. founded a few groups that I was part of, Urban Ave 31 being one. First project I ever put out was called The Healing. Also formed a group, an alliance with another local artist from the area named W. Ellington Felton, which we
Mm,
just clicked. We later curated a group called The Crossroads. And that's roads like spelled like the Fender Roads. Uh,
come on.
and uh, and then, all while still pursuing this solo career, as an artist. And in 2002 is when I landed my first record deal with Jive Records, after doing a showcase, being summons to go to New York and do a showcase, and which was supposed to be like 3 songs, and it ended up being like an hour and a half performance.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, for what would go on to be my staff and my label, Jive Records at the time. And back then, my label mates were like, it's like R. Kelly at his height,
Joe.
yeah, Joe. Um, they later, after the mergers and a selling of the company, I sat through one selling of the company and two mergers. Being signed in 2002, my first album didn't come out to '05.
Yeah.
um, and seeing some artists never whose albums never came out, you know,
Man.
um, and or they, it just didn't play out in their favor. But like Joe, R. Kelly, NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, Britney Spears,
Yeah.
they later acquired Anthony Hamilton,
Yep.
Usher. I was in the building the day that Chris Brown was walked through the building, and just the ink had just dried on his deal. I remember meeting Chris Brown, like bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. I remember like yesterday. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to be able to see what he's done, what I've done, now do shows and touring, and Frankie Beverly and Maze tributes with Joe and the Ozzy brothers, and then not to mention the hip hop side of things, which I'm a hip hop head. So it's like Tribe Called Quest, Too
Yeah.
Short, E40, you know all these different artists that were part of, the job team, UGK, who I went on to work with,
Yep.
plethora of times. I remember the day that Pimp C called me, when he came home, and and
Tell me
and,
about
and this,
that.
yeah. So he called. My phone rings. It's like a number that I don't know,
Yeah.
and I answer the phone, and he say man. He said, "Hey man, it's Pimp C." So I think I hung up the first time. I'm like, it's like playing on my phone. And he was and then he was like, "Nah, this is Pimp C," and um, he had just come home, and he told me how Guess Who Loves You More, like that was his jam. That's like that was his connection with him, and that kept him
Yes,
like
loves you
like like like
more.
like
Yeah,
like
that's the
him and his
shit.
lady. That was their thing. You know what I'm saying? When they would
Yeah.
play that through the phone, and you know, um, he just spoke how just how that song was everything to him. And so much that he wanted to put a spin on it, and like flip it. Yeah, and we went on to do that.
Nice.
And went on to work with him, work with UGK a multitude of times, and myself, the record Country Cousins with Talib, it's a
Come
lot of
on.
different things, man. Pimp was a visionary.
Yeah.
Not just the MC, but just a hell of a producer, and it's a really solid brother. You know what I mean? The times that
Absolutely.
we we didn't spend much time together, but the few times that we spoke, and then the one time that I saw him, last time I saw him was at LA, at a label event. You know what I mean? It was just, he
Yeah.
just always embraced, but he just really just told me how, just how dope I was, and and being that I was one of the kings, one of the underground kings,
Yeah.
of this soul and R&B thing. It meant a lot, to him.
Nah, big
I
up
mean
to
a
Pimp
lot to
C.
me too.
Nah, for sure. Big up to Pimp C.
Yeah,
You mentioned that, and I remember, he's from Port Arthur, Texas.
yeah,
I'm from Louisiana, and he spent
yeah,
a lot of time back and forth in Baton Rouge
yeah,
and back. So that's what
absolutely.
Trillion T and all that. And I was connected to that back
Yeah,
at that timeline. So you saying that, I remember, him being an amazing producer and guitar player.
yeah,
He was such a talented musician
yeah,
outside of him being an elite rapper, MC. And in the South, UGK, we admire them the same way the East Coast would admire Wu Tang. You know what I'm
Yeah, for
saying?
sure. Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
we big them up like that. So no, that's awesome. Rest in peace,
Yeah.
Pimp C. So all of these artists that you've had the opportunity to work with in these stories, I know you have so many different stories. Would you feel like is the overall lesson? Like when you just look back at your career, you're like, man, what have I learned from this thing?
Man, block out the white noise, block out the static, you know what I mean? Like, stay focused. Um, you know, manifestation is real,
Yeah,
prayer, preparation, and purpose, is are three of the main ingredients, that have attributed to my success.
yeah.
Obviously it's levels to go, it's levels to it. I mean, have I given the world my greatest song yet? Absolutely not.
Come
You know
on.
what I mean? Like, is it on the way? Absolutely. You
Yeah,
know, uh, and I mean, don't let brands and titles, um, technology, um, or what you don't have access to determine, you know, your outcome.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Because I'm a prime example of that. I'm on ascension right now. I'm on my prime right now. You know what I mean? Like, and
I love it.
yeah, it's still we still very I'm still very active. And
Nah,
it's about it's about alignment and the timing of things. You know what I mean? So, to be independent, to have the year that I had, in 2024, you know, being back on the charts, top 10 record for
yeah.
pretty much half of the year. I got another heat rocker on the way.
Come on.
A lot more music on the way, but I've been using 2025 to just like really, in actuality, just kind of like reset, reboot. Been
Yeah,
doing a lot of recording with a lot of different producers. I got a lot of project at can with different producers.
yeah.
Rex Ride Out. We got one in the can. Vidal and Dre. We got one in the can.
Come on.
Vidal from Vidal and Dre. We got a time project in the can. Um, the colleagues, who I work with very closely. We got a multitude of things we're doing. Just started a go-go band, the Crank Crusaders, out of the
Come on.
DC area. That's going well, as well. So shout out to Bootsy Vegas and Yazara, who are on the front line with me there.
Oh, big
But yeah,
Yazra, that's my girl. I know. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
man, yeah,
Shout out to
yeah, yeah,
Yaz.
yeah. We
We
got it.
did a show together. We did a show in New Orleans for Jazz Fest.
Yeah, yeah. So we're in a go-go band together, and I
She's
just put
amazing.
out a project with Granique,
Come on.
which is a name a lot of people probably haven't heard in some years. One of the
Nice.
one of the original voices of that whole neo soul era, which was
Yeah.
curated by Kedar Massenburg at the time. So,
Yeah. Big up
when
Kedar.
butterflies become unicorns, that's the latest project with Granique that's out, and so I'm enjoying using my platform, my Raheem DeVaughn Presents platform, to expose the world to great music. Some artists which we may be familiar with, some not. I feel
Yeah.
like my name is the most valuable thing that I can lend. Put out there to the game and attach myself to. My success with Tanya Nolan. You know, uh, the artist Mariah. Out of the Baton Rouge area,
Come on.
was really dope. So, I've been working with a lot of independent artists, as well. And I just we just keep going, man. Keep going, keep going. I've really been focused on media and radio and this new job too that I had for in 2025, because it's a different hat, um and definitely a different skill set, when it comes to like performing in the studio, and touring, like, and that version of Raheem DeVaughn, that brand. I got my 10,000 hours in, you know. So
You
right,
got about
so
you
right,
got about you got about 30,000 hours. Yeah,
yeah,
you know what
yeah,
I'm saying?
probably a lot more than that actually,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
but
yeah,
but you
yeah.
know what they say about the 10,000 hour effect? Like, once you do something, 10,000 hours, you
You
become a
mastered it.
master at it. Yeah, you master
That's
it. You
right.
know what I mean? Uh, and knowing that. Um, I just been locking in on what are the other things that I want to, connect the dots on. And right now, definitely, doing radio is like it's opening up a lot of doors.
Yeah.
It's giving me a peek behind the veil and a different respect for it. And you know, just like R&B, you know, it's been said that radio was dead, and it's really not. It never will be. You know, more than ever, you know, it's important because um, especially as it relates to like community and just being locked in real time of what's going on, and you know, you can set the tone, you can set the frequency, you know, to help uplift people, or just, you know,
Yeah,
um, give them something to think about. You know, the Quiet Storm has always been a sense of escapism when you can
yeah,
just like wind down after a long day, you know.
that's
So
right.
yeah, so to be able to do that, you know, Monday through Friday, especially in the climate of where things are in the country, you know, right now, is needed, you know.
No, absolutely, absolutely. I was one of those people who would say, and this is a few years ago, because radio did kind of hit a climax at some point, and now it's back on on the rise because I actually read something recently saying 36 or 37% of all music listened to is on radio. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Right now. You know what I'm saying? So that's on
yeah,
all genres across the board. So for the public to actually get new music, to get music across the board, radio is definitely still dominating for sure.
absolutely.
Yeah. So let's switch gears a little bit. I got some rapid fire questions for you.
All
So
right, cool.
first thing that come to mind, they may come, you'll think about it.
All right,
You might get caught up. All right.
all right.
First R&B album that you bought or owned.
That I bought or owned, uh, probably Jodeci, Forever My Lady.
Come on.
Yeah,
That's the one. That's one of them joints, boy.
yeah.
All right. What's the one song in your catalog that fans underrate the most?
One of the songs in my catalog that fans underrate the most. Oh man, which album we want to start with? I got a
You
lot of
pick.
music, man, you know.
Yeah, you
Uh
pick.
uh
Like, what's the one? The audience is gonna watch this show. They're
yeah.
gonna say, "I got to go listen to this record."
If you're gonna go listen, I would say probably start with Believe off the first album, off the Love
Okay.
Experience album. Yeah, Believe. Yep.
All right. And we talked about the collaboration already, so I'm not gonna ask that question. So, if you weren't making music, what would Raheem be doing?
I mean, I'm probably already doing it, like radio, you know, I'd be a community guy. You know, I'm finding a way to balance, you know, balance the balance life and do all the things. But I'm you know, I'm doing those things. It would be, you know, it would be community. It would be, you know, working with the youth. You know,
Yeah,
maybe a youth counselor. You know, working with at risk kids.
man, I love your heart behind that, man. I really do. Um, what's your favorite era of R&B? 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s? Now,
My favorite era, man, probably the '70s.
come on.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
It's just the foundation.
I was born in '75, you know, conceived in '74.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it probably would be the '70s. Yeah.
hmm what's the best piece of advice you've ever received from a musician
Um,
or from someone in the industry?
Probably my dad, you know, make yourself proud. You know, a lot of times we're so focused on trying to keep up with the Joneses and, you know, with
Yeah.
fulfilling the level to compete, you know, or the bar is so high, you know, when it comes to, you know, the level of competition, or the expectations, you know what I mean? Like, you
Yeah.
know, focus on, you know, making yourself proud, like seeing it through, you
Yeah.
know,
I'm
from
sure I'm sure
seeing
you've
it,
done that, man.
yeah, seeing it through from conception, and like, you know, to think about it, like to go in a studio, you know, on a on any given night and, you know, spend the whole night there and to leave with something
Yeah.
um that you didn't come there with,
Yeah.
and and then to say that you're going to, you know, invest at times your last, you're gonna risk it all,
Mhm.
all bets on the table, right?
Yeah,
Um and market it, and then, vulnerably sing it and perform it for an audience of strangers, and to put out to the world for people to critique it and say, whether they like it, love it, appreciate it, value it or not, and
yeah,
to find a way to even to monetize it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And is pure insanity, but ingenious at the same time. And
absolutely.
one of the biggest risks that you can uh take, uh but on the other side of it, the reward is so great,
Yeah.
you know.
No,
And
man,
that's
that's
what,
powerful.
that's what that's what I've been a product of. That's what we do as artists. It's it's alchemy,
No, absolutely. And you saying that, I've said that a number of times, man. It's the power of, it's like the God quality that's in us, like the power of creating something out of nothing. I had this idea, I had nothing tangible. I pulled this song down, whatever.
Yeah.
I wrote it. Now
I
I
had
have
this down.
something.
I had this download,
Yeah,
and but the most important part to it was I saw it through
that's right.
every detail of it, and based upon how you nurture it, uh, and how you value it, uh, and how you honor it, is what you get back like tenfold.
I think the even more powerful thing, in addition to everything you said, is now that you have that thing, you're able to give it to someone else. You know,
Absolutely, and to show them how to harness it, utilize it. Um, One of the most important things, protect it. You know,
yeah, yeah.
uh,
I think that's a
because
special thing. We
yeah,
have a
we have
gift.
yeah, we have and it's an obligation that we have.
That's right.
That accountability to be able to you know show the other X-Men out there how to utilize the gift, properly.
That's right. That's right. Last question. What's your favorite city to perform in and why?
Man, you're gonna start a riot in the down in the comments below, bruh.
Come on, man.
Man, my favorite city to perform in. Sheesh. Um, Man, it's a five-way tie
Come on. I love it. Yeah.
between Atlanta, um, Dallas, Texas,
Come on.
of course DC,
Yeah.
um, Chicago, and I'm just trying to think where I've had like the craziest shows experience. Yeah, I say Chicago, and then um, and did we say Detroit?
Now you didn't say Detroit. Okay.
Detroit be crazy. Detroit be lit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
Detroit is
love you
lit.
in Detroit.
Yeah, I just
They
yeah, I
love
just
you.
I just I just I just played Detroit literally in the last 2 weeks. Yeah, Detroit was crazy.
Ironically, ironically, when I mentioned early in the show, and I was talking about, talking to a couple friends
Hmm.
about having you on the show. One of my homeboys is from Detroit, and he
Yeah,
was talking about. He was like, "Yo, man, I got a chance to see Raheem." It was like maybe a year or two ago, but
yeah,
he was just talking about how much he enjoyed the show and all that.
yeah,
So they love you in Detroit for sure, man.
yeah.
Um,
Trying to think who was it that tells the stories, but there's this comedian that talks about how like one night they were in a club,
mhm.
and they were with this woman, and Prince comes in, and he's sitting like 20 tables down, and
Mm.
as he looks up, he's talking to the woman, and as he looks up, uh every time he would look up, Prince would be at a table, one table or two tables closer. And he's like, so he's talking to this woman. She's like the baddest joint in the club, right?
Yeah,
So I kind of compare it to that. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So before he knows it, Prince is literally at the next table, like doing the Prince stare, You know what I'm saying? Legs crossed. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
dude just gets up and excuses himself. Like, so I kind of
Come
compare the
on.
story to that. Whatever. So but I went to go see her. I think it was like an album release or something she was doing, and she was like,
Yeah.
hey, Prince is here. Like and she was so excited, like, hey, Prince, and I'm excited too. I'm like, who would have thought I would meet Prince the first,
Prince.
the first time, like to Guapole of all people,
Yeah.
right? So
Right.
she's like, and it's not just Prince, it's Prince and Sheila E.
Come on.
Like sitting at the table, whatever. So so she took me over there to meet her, and she's excited, she's like, Prince, this is Raheem DeVaughn. Like you heard, da, 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 da. And it was funny, right? So he said, "What up?" But the vibe was like,
Don't hate on this.
why you bringing this? Why you bringing him over here to meet? Like I'm Prince, like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm here. He was there for, you know what I'm saying. I could tweet the vibe. He was there for. He might have been there on Mac time. You know what I'm saying? He might have been there on
Trying to see what's
Purple
going
Rain
on.
time. Yeah, you know what I
Yeah.
mean. Garofalo's a looker. You know what I mean too. So,
For sure.
but yeah, man. Nah, it was funny. It was like it was like. And we dabbed up. But I quickly excused myself because I could kind of read the room. You know what I
You
mean?
understand what was going on?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And then I ended up, there were other times that we kicked it. It was like really dope. Shelby, who was a background singer, my girl Shelby, who I met Shelby initially. She was singing background with Martin Luther, and Shelby used
Mm,
to also sing background for D'Angelo.
come on.
When Bilal and Anthony Hamilton were background singers for D'Angelo, Shelby was
Yeah.
the female singer or whatever. So Shelby
Gotcha.
ended up working with him up until the time he transitioned. So once my girl Shelby got with him, like I got access to all the 3 o'clock in the morning performances in LA
Yeah.
for a room of 50, or
That's
hey,
right.
hey Pete, we're in town, come kick it with me and Pete, come to the
Come on.
concert, we're gonna do the after party. My coolest Prince story probably would be, it was the year that I want to say that Michael Jackson passed, if I'm not mistaken. It was a BET, and Deborah Lee used to do this private BET parties, like BET weekend, and then when she
Yeah.
would have performers. So I was one of the performers performing during that time. Matter of fact, we talking like 2008, maybe nine, because I'm using Customer as a reference point. Like Customer was like on fire.
Yeah.
Um, and but I was excited about Janelle Monáe, who was performing that night.
Yeah.
And apparently he probably was just more of a Janelle Monáe groupie fan than I was.
Come on.
They announced Janelle was about to perform, and all of a sudden, out of my side, I see Prince walk up. He stands next to me, and they say Janelle Monáe, and we look at each other, and he taps me and says, "Boop." He says, "Come on, come on, we're going down to the floor."
Come on.
We go down to the floor, and I think he could just pick up on my energy, like how excited I was. We were like two giddy school kids,
Wow.
excited about watching Janelle Monáe perform, and this was like off of the first album, Metropolitan, or I think
Yeah.
that's what it was called. Yeah, you know what I mean. So, ah man, we like down there in the front, just like everybody else is on bougie time, and we like down there in the front, like just having a ball. You know
Come
what I
on,
mean?
man.
That was probably like one of my dopest moments. I don't think he remembered me from the night with Guapole.
Man, that's ill. I had to hit record when you started talking because I'm like, this is a good story to add into the show,
Yeah,
man. That's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah,
Nah,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah,
Janelle,
yeah.
she's amazing. I love
Yeah,
Janelle.
yeah, yeah, yeah. To see how she's morphed, and you
Man.
know, and just Guaple just being a West Coast legend, man. It's
Oh, for
how you
sure.
can how you can have a song that
Closer
just
to
so,
my dream.
yeah, and
Yeah,
it's so impactful that it transcends time, generations,
that's right.
and just literally catapulted her to like a West Coast legend. She a West Coast queen, you know what I'm saying, as it
And
relates to
she's
like,
she's obviously incredibly beautiful. And I remember
yeah,
in when I first at the show I was referring to, I did with her years back. I was in a band,
yeah.
and we were at this place called Himmenbau, and it's like a amphitheater
Okay.
over the water.
Yep.
It was so beautiful, and she's up there performing.
Oh yeah, yeah. I
She
can
was
imagine
giving,
the
man,
ambiance of it. Yeah.
yeah, and she was giving. It was giving Sade vibes, like
Oh yeah,
um,
for sure.
she was giving that energy, and I was just like, man, I was floored by her performance. Years
Yeah.
later, got a chance to see Sade during the Soldier of Love tour, and
Yeah.
so that might have been 5 or 6 years later. But
Yeah.
I've been a fan of Guapale since that record dropped. I think
Yeah.
that might have been that same 03, 04, maybe 02, whenever that was.
Yeah,
But
her band, the band she has right now is killer too, bro. Like
I bet.
they killer, yeah. So we shut it down in Columbus, Ohio, man. We did a show, it was about 10,000 fans, free concert for the city, and the whole city
Wow.
came out. Columbus, it was, yeah, it's turned up, man. So I've been
Wow.
I've been a, I've been a lot of great company as of late, just moving around, touring. You know, I'm about to announce the fall and winter tour dates that are on the way, and
Excellent.
we're just keeping this thing going, man.
Excellent. What can your audience or can the audience expect from you in coming weeks or in coming months?
Oh man, I'm currently in Atlanta right now. I got a show tomorrow, in East Point. I don't saying to
Okay.
try to say the point
East
right.
Point.
Yeah,
Yeah, East
yeah. They,
Point.
you know, they put, you know,
Yeah.
they put the little twang, the southern twang on it though, you know. But yeah,
Yeah.
I have a show tomorrow actually with Tyrese, Kiki Wyatt,
Woo.
and Carl Thomas is a free
Pressure.
thing they doing. You know, wind down Wednesdays in the East Point, Atlanta, Georgia. I was
Pressure.
just I was I was just in Atlanta in the last 2 months with Eric, headlining with Eric Roberson and Tweet. You know what I
Come
mean?
on.
That was literally like in the last 30 days, and then they brought me back. So that's a prime example of just like, where I could play the market like multiple times and come
Yeah.
and they don't get enough. You know what I mean? So,
Nah, for sure.
and I don't either. I love the exchange of connecting with the fans, and like I said, singing these records that the world's been making love to, and having creating these great relationships, and and reflecting, and songs that reflect upon the times. Like it never gets old. It never gets
Absolutely.
old. Currently coming up on the 1 year anniversary of being, the new voice and radio personality of the original Quiet Storm on 96.3.
Amazing.
WHUR in DC. At the Mecca Howard University's,
Come on.
campus there in DC. So, it'll be a year in October that I've been on the air. Um,
Congratulations on that.
I'm hoping to expand at some point and do syndication. I got some podcast stuff that's coming down the pipeline,
Come on.
um, and some other exciting partnerships. There's some talks of music festivals and stuff like that in my, immediate future. You know what I mean? So, and just continue to just make great music and put out great music. It's a lot of music on the way. A lot of music on the way.
No. Absolutely, man. Raheem, thank you for making the time, bro.
Yeah.
Uh, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. And as always, it's a continued conversation. We got the Love King in the building. Guess who loves you more? Yo, we got Raheem DeVaughn. Can we talk R&B? God bless.
Can we talk? Oh, can we talk? Can we talk?